Hey everybody, Chris the old ass retro gamer here. I have a very special episode for you today. I'm a member of a Facebook group called Water Cooler Games Discussion, and there was a challenge issued in that group from Jerry of GameCase, which is a YouTube channel, as well as Mosley of Drunken Master Studios. And the challenge was, can you name 5 of your favorite Super Nintendo games that aren't the classics? Like the Zeldas, the Metroids, the Castlevanias, the Contras, the Final Fantasies, the typical stuff that everybody names in their favorite Super Nintendo game lists. Can you name 5 that fall outside of that list that might be a little more uncommon or lesser known? I have a decent enough size Super Nintendo collection that I probably can do that. So I did, and here it is. So if you're looking for an alternative to Contra, this game might be right up your alley. I have mentioned it before on my channel. It was in my top 5 retro games based on movies video that I did with Nintendo a while back. It was my number 1, The Lawnmower Man. Yes, it is a licensed game. Yes, it is based on a movie that not a lot of people enjoy, but I've always had a soft spot for this game. It is kind of like Contra with a couple of cool bells and whistles mixed in. It's a side-scrolling shooter, just like Contra. You get power-ups to get better weapons. It's one-hit kills in this game, but you can get a suit that allows you to take 1 extra hit. You're going through locales from the film, just blowing everybody away that you come into contact with, be it soldiers, vans, motorcycles, people on fire, little monkeys. In the arms of the angel. The play control is great. The music is awesome. It is this really cool symphonic techno type stuff. It's very 90s, but I love it. And the cool part is that in between levels, you have these 3D segments that really take advantage of the Super Nintendo's Mode 7, where you're flying and you have to dodge obstacles, and you even have like these little brain twister puzzles that you can participate in to get some extra power-ups. It's really cool, it's really tough, it's really challenging, and it really is a lot of fun. So if you're looking for a Contra alternative, I highly recommend this one. And next, when you think of a 3D space shooter, most people go straight to Wing Commander. And so do I, because I love Wing Commander. Wing Commander is one of my favorite game franchises of all time, especially Part 3. That game is awesome. Buy a 3DO just to play it. But a fun alternative to Wing Commander is Warp Speed by Ballistic. It's pretty much the exact same game, although the missions don't tend to get varied the way they do in the Wing Commander games. This is basically just shooting, 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 and nothing but. Like I said, it is a 3D space shooter just like Wing Commander. Really cool Mode 7 graphics, really cool ship designs. The music is okay, the play control is good. You have a grid map that you can go to find out where all the enemy groups are that you need to destroy. Just go over there, kill everything, go on to a next one. It is very simple, it's very fun though. I enjoy it a lot. I love the graphics in this game. For a Super Nintendo game, they're pretty impressive. It's not as complicated or complex as Wing Commander, so as a baby steps type of game, if you want to get into 3D space shooters, Warp Speed is the one you want to try out. When you think shoot 'em up, you probably think Gradius, you probably think R-Type. There are plenty of other shoot 'em ups on the Super Nintendo. Most of them are awesome. A lot of them are really expensive that I will never ever be able to afford, but what's a good alternative? Phalanx by Kemco. I mean, just look at that cover. You know you want it. It's a typical shmup. The power-ups are great. The music is okay, but the play control is cool. You don't have to worry about all that speed bullshit like you do in R-Type. Here you have the option to slow down and speed up at will, but it really is fun in the fact that you are constantly fighting the same boss over and over again during the levels. Like in the first level, you fight this boss in this cloudscape, and when you beat it, it kind of goes and dives into the cloud, and then you end up fighting him later on again, and then he goes away, and then you end up fighting him later on again. It's really kind of cool the way it does that. It's just constantly keeping you on your toes, reminding you that, hey, you fought this thing, but it ain't over just yet. But I am warning you, this game is super, super tough. It is hard as balls. I kid you not. It took me forever to be able to just pass the first level. But those were the games of the day. Back then, the games had to be super freaking hard to keep you occupied because these games were never super long. So you just had to keep coming back, trying harder, get a little bit further than you did the last time, and that's what I love about it. So Phalanx, great shmup that isn't Gradius. So now we're going to talk about a couple of reproductions, technically Super Famicom games or games from across the pond in the England. You get a lot of those top-down shooter games, you know, like Ikari Warriors and stuff like that from the NES days. Well, how many of those do you remember on the Super Nintendo? Not very many, if I recall. A lot of times top-down was reserved for RPGs. But there was one game that I have talked about before. I did an unboxing of it when I picked this up from Time Walk Games a few years ago. That is the Fireman by Human. It is a top-down sort of shoot 'em up like Ikari Warriors, but you play as a fireman and his little partner, and there's two different weapons you have. You have your full-on hose and you have a fire extinguisher. The full-on hose is to put out the large fires, the extinguisher is to put out the small ones, and your partner follows you around with the axe and swats out all the other ones that you aren't putting out. The music is great, the play control is great. The fire, I mean, I know the game sounds kind of simple, I mean, you're just putting out fires, but the fires do certain things. The fires have patterns, and there's certain ones that you will see and you'll be like, oh, I know this one will swoop across the ground at me, and I know this one will move in a circle, and I know this one will spread and multiply. You have to know what you're looking at and how to fight it, which is really cool strategy-wise. It's a lot better than I expected it to be. It is super fun. I love it. Fireman is awesome. And then lastly, Castlevania is a series that everybody knows, and of course we weren't allowed to choose any of the Castlevania games because I might have picked part 4, but I already talked about that in my top 10 games of all time list. But if you want a great Castlevania alternative, there is a game from Japan that you must pick up if you are able to. King of Demons. It is basically a Castlevania clone, but the cool thing is, instead of using a whip or even like in other side-scrolling Castlevania type games, a sword, you have a gun, and it takes place in the modern day. And there's a reason this game was not released in the US, and it is because of its themes. I mean, basically you are going through hell, and there's naked women around, and there's, you know, blood and everything. So, of course, Nintendo said, I don't know if you people in the US can handle that kind of adultedness. Their heads might explode. But the game is amazing. Awesome, colorful graphics. Your main character, yes, a gun is his main weapon, but after you defeat certain bosses, you can pick up an icon that you can shoot at to change to different colors, and each color corresponds with a different demon that you can turn into. And each one has their own special moveset, weapon, whatnot. I tend to like the green one because he shoots lasers and he can fly a little bit, but it plays great. I love the monsters in this game. They're all really creative and grotesque and kind of disturbing. Sometimes a little funny. That spider looks goofy as hell to me, but there's so much creativity going on in this game. I love the bosses. There's this big worm thing that just chases you in one level, and there's blood everywhere. It's creepy. This game just has it all, especially if you're a horror fan. So if you can pick up a copy of King of Demons, I highly recommend that you do. It is a lot of fun. It is cool as hell, and it is very, very unique. And it's just sad that it never got released in the US because, according to Nintendo, we're a bunch of wusses over here. Eat a bag of dicks, Nintendo. So there you go, 5 Super Nintendo games that I really enjoyed. My other favorite Super Nintendo games that aren't from the major franchises. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope I convinced you to pick up a few of these if you're able to. So I want to thank Jerry from Game Case and Mosley from Drunken Master Studios, as well as everyone on the Water Cooler Games discussion group on Facebook for this challenge. It was a lot of fun trying to figure out which games I wanted to talk about, and I have no problem playing them to capture footage because I love them. So if you haven't already, please subscribe to my channel on YouTube, as well as give it a follow on VidMe. Share the link to the video on the social medias. Give the video a thumbs up if you like what you see, and leave any and all comments below. What are some of your favorite Super Nintendo games that aren't from the major franchises? Say you want to play a game that's like Final Fantasy II, but you don't want to play Final Fantasy II. What game would you choose? Discuss. So until next time, I am Chris, the old-ass retro gamer, signing off.